What's going on, Rebel family? I started watching the Warnock, Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker debate. I was gonna edit some other videos, so while I was editing other videos, I was like, let me just let this play and just see what these two fools are talking about. But as I'm listening, I kind of got distracted and started paying more attention to the debate and found it interesting. I was like, you know what, let me just before I listen to the whole thing, I got probably about 10 minutes in, and I said before I get too far into the debate, let me just react live to it. This is impromptu. I wasn't going to do this, but um from the outset of just what I was listening to, you know, I found it surprising that I thought Walker was doing better than I thought he would. Because I had been saying for the longest time, Walker's an idiot if he takes this debate with Warnock, because Walker isn't very well spoken. Um, and he even admitted in something I saw, some news clip about him, that he's not a smart man, or he's not very smart, or something like that he said. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's clear that it's clear what you are. But I wouldn't admit it. I mean, I don't care what, like, I'm not that smart. I'm not going to admit it. I'm like, well, I would focus on my strengths as opposed to my overall weaknesses. So, um, maybe I'm not a financial guru, but so I wouldn't just go in, oh, well, I'm not that smart in financial things, but, I would focus on, well, you know, you give me anything in networking and I tear it up. I'm all over that. So I would focus on my strengths as opposed to my weaknesses, just using those two things as an example. So just looking at it. So I'm gonna start it again and just go through this thing, because I saw just from the first 10 minutes now, I don't know how the rest of it is going to turn out. But um and to me, the only thing that Herschel Walker can do, so I won't be surprised if it continues this way, but the only thing that Herschel Walker could do is to answer questions honestly and more directly. Warnock, the first 10 minutes that I saw, that guy deflected a bunch, and he dodged a lot of the questions and just talked around in circles. He came off, and like I said, this is the first 10 minutes. I'm going to give my thoughts when it's fully over. But the first 10 minutes is what prompted me to start, just pop it on and just start recording as I'm going through everything. But the first 10 minutes, he came off like really like a politician, to where, okay, we ask you about A, you deflect to X, Y, and Z, totally forgot about what the hell the question was, and very Obama-esque, meaning he seemed to be, the first, and again, this is the first 10 minutes, he seemed to be very Warnock's well spoken. Maybe when he has prepared speeches, he knocks them out of the park. I mean, he is some type of reverend or something. So he has that slick background, and he can talk and get the people going or whatever. Maybe in prepared speeches, but it seems in the first 10 minutes of this debate, he isn't that sharp. And Obama was that way. Obama knock it out of the park when he has prepared speeches, and but quick-witted in terms of rebutting stuff on the fly. A couple of those debates he lost, and it was like he shouldn't have lost. To uh, I can't even think of who he ran against now. It's been so long. But I just remember looking at a couple of those debates. I'm like, man, Obama is trash debating, but he could, very eloquent when he speaks. But that's the way Warnock's thing. But let's go ahead and jump in. I'm sorry I'm rambling here, but it just caught my attention that, wow, okay, wait a minute. And I guess maybe that's why Herschel Walker's team said to do this debate, because nobody expects anything from Herschel Walker. So If he does average, then it'll look like a win. Um, I honestly don't think either way it's going to move any significant undecided voters to either side. I think people are pretty locked in. And I don't know how staunch Republicans are going to uh, back Walker, but he seems to be down in the polls. But we'll see. I, I'm not going to be surprised if Warnock wins. It makes sense. But anyway, let's get it.
For your future.
Joe Biden and Raphael Warnock is bankrupting this country.
The people of Georgia have a real choice about who they think is ready to represent them.
Vying for your vote, the first black senator to represent the state of Georgia, Democrat Raphael Warnock.
You send me back to the Senate. You have my word. I will keep fighting.
Working to defeat him, businessman and Heisman Trophy winner, Republican Herschel Walker.
There's no doubt we have problems in this country.
Who do you trust in Washington? Every word these men say tonight matters. Live from Plant Riverside District in Savannah, this is the Georgia U.S. Senate debate.
Welcome to debate. That dude is clearly not well spoken, Herschel Walker. I mean, my goodness.
Night in America. I'm your host, Leland Vittert from News Nation. In 2020, Georgia decided the balance of power in the United States Senate, and it might well again. The stakes could not be higher. Tina Taya Shaw, anchor at WSAV here in Savannah, and Buck Lanford, anchor at Fox 5 in Atlanta, will moderate tonight's debate. We are joined by a live studio audience. They have agreed to hold their cheers and applause until the end of tonight's debate. We also welcome our viewers across the country watching on News Nation, and voters here in Georgia joining us on 5 Nexstar stations and several partner stations across the region. Before we get started with tonight's topics, the rules. Senator Warnock, Mr. Walker, you will each have 60 seconds for opening statements and 60 seconds to answer each question. If there's a follow-up or rebuttal, you will have 30 seconds. When time's up, you'll hear this bell. Each candidate will also have 60 seconds for a closing statement. And with that, it is time to get underway. Tina and Buck, the floor is yours.
Leland, thank you very much. Senator Warnock, Mr. Walker, good evening to you both. We appreciate you being here, and we look forward to hearing from you both tonight. And for those of you at home that are following along, we'd like for you to use the hashtag GASEN debate. Once again, it's hashtag GASEN debate.
Good to see you as well, gentlemen. We began tonight with opening statements. A card draw determined who will go first. Mr. Walker, we will begin with you. You have 60 seconds.
First, I'd like to acknowledge my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'm one of 7 kids, born and raised in Wrightsville, Georgia. My parents taught me about faith, family, education, and the love of country. They also taught me about a good work ethic, and because of that, I found the America's dream. But this race ain't about me. It's about what Raphael Warnock and Joe Biden had done to you and your family. Tonight, he's going to try to sweet talk you that he's doing a good job, but his record speaks for itself. I'm here to tell you that they've raised your taxes, gave you high inflation. They even put men and women's sports. And I want to let you know that Raphael Warnock, if we give him 6 more years, think what he's going to do. So I'm here to fix it.
And now he came off a little nervous, or he's just the I don't know if he has some kind of speech impediment, but you could kind of see him getting twisted up. But overall, it was an effective opening statement,
Mr. Walker.
at least for his base. Like I said, it's not going to sway anybody on the other side or in the middle, perhaps, but it was for his base. It's effective.
Thank you. Senator Warnock, we turn now to you for your opening statement. You have 60 seconds.
Well, thank you so very much. And hello, Georgia. It's so wonderful to be back here in my hometown. Now, I know that we're in a debate tonight, but really I come with a deep heart filled with gratitude, probably because I grew up about a mile from here in the Caton Homes housing projects. I'm one of 12 children in my family. Clearly, my preacher parents read the Bible, be fruitful and multiply. When I think about the arc of my life, the short distance and the long distance from there to here, I know that only in America is my story possible. My family taught me the importance of hard work and how to build the beloved community that Dr. King used to talk about, and I brought that spirit to the Senate. At the end of the day, this race is about who's ready to represent Georgia in the U.S. Senate. I think that choice is clear, and I look forward to having that discussion tonight.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. Gentlemen, we have a lot to get to this hour. So we will start tonight with the most important issues facing Georgia voters.
Our next star, Emerson College The Hill poll shows the economy, threats to democracy, and abortion access are the top three issues. We're going to begin tonight with the economy. Everyday Georgians are struggling. They're struggling to pay for food, gas, child care, housing. This week, the inflation rate continues to rise. Mr. Walker, we're going to start with you. You've been openly critical, blaming President Biden and the Democrats for inflation and for the economy. If elected, what is one idea that you would champion to reduce inflation? We ask you to be specific. You have 60 seconds.
Well, first of all, you have to blame this administration and Senator Warnock because within 2 years, this inflation has gotten worse. They cut our energy independence. They also raised taxes. And at the same time, they reckless spending all our money. So he would sit here tonight and say that he's doing a good job for us, and you ask me what is one job I would do to help the inflation. First of all, we got to become independent, energy independent again. And the reason why, we're going to our enemies to ask for gas and oil. And that puts us not just in an inflation problem, but it puts us in a national security problem. And I think that's something that I think Senator Warnock need to realize. And he mentioned that he grew up here in Savannah with 12 siblings. Well, in this area, most people live paycheck to paycheck. And when you have inflation the way he's brought inflation on, how in the world can you buy grocery or gas for your family?
A follow-up question.
Okay, so there yeah, you got to take shots. You take shots at the other side, but he did answer the question. I saw a lot of people saying that he didn't answer one question specifically. He dodged and deflected. They get to ask one idea to reduce inflation. He said energy independence after, taking shots at Warnock and Biden.
To that, Mr. Walker, most economists say that cutting government spending is the first step in economic recovery. I would want to ask you, would you consider cutting military funding or spending on social services to accomplish this goal? And you have 30 seconds.
I would not think about cutting military spending because first, I believe in peace through strength. Right now, we're at a brink of war. And I think right now with Senator Warnock, who he and Joe Biden, they don't show any strength. And we have to protect this country. And I said it early on, right now, because we're giving our energy up to our enemies that don't like us, we have to be ready for war. This is not a playground. So we have to be ready for war right now.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Again, he specifically answered the question, would you cut military spending or social service programs? No, I would not cut military spending, which is basically, yes, I'll cut social service programs. Good or bad, right or wrong, he did answer the question specifically.
Senator Warnock, since President Biden has taken office, inflation has reached levels that we haven't seen in 40 years. You've supported nearly every piece of legislation that this administration has pushed through Congress. Do you take any responsibility for the financial hardships currently that Georgians are facing? And you have 60 seconds.
There's no question that people are feeling pain at the grocery store, at the pump, at pharmacy counters. And while we are paying record prices, a lot of our corporate actors are seeing record profits in the oil and gas industry and the pharmaceutical industry, which is why I've stood up for ordinary, hardworking Georgia families time and time again. I passed the single largest tax cut, contrary to what my opponent is suggesting, for middle and working class families in American history. And we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which had two of my provisions. One, caps the cost of prescription drugs for seniors so they don't have to choose between buying medicine and buying groceries. And one caps the cost of insulin. He said he would not have voted for the Inflation Reduction Act, and I think he should tell the people of Georgia why he thinks they should have expensive insulin, and why the pharmaceutical companies should be able to charge us whatever they like.
Well, first of all, may I respond?
Total. There we go. Total deflection. The question was, do you take any responsibility for how the economy is going and the inflation that Georgians are seeing and the hardships on Georgians' lives or whatever? He never said yes or no. Do you take any responsibility? He deflected all around the world and talked about the Inflation Reduction Act. Um, so you have to take some responsibility, either good or bad. You either say yes or no, and then say, you know, I saw what was going on, I saw what was happening. So yes, I'm the Georgia senator representing Georgia. I'm one of the Georgia senators representing Georgia. We passed the Inflation Reduction Act, and it brought whatever down. If it did, I don't know. But he totally deflected. He didn't answer the question at all. Let's keep going.
You know, I believe in reducing insulin, but at the same time, you got to eat right because he may not know, and I know many people that's on insulin, and unless you have eating right, insulin is doing you no good. So you have to get food prices down, and you got to get gas down so they can go get insulin. And you continue to pat yourself on the back, but right now, families are starving. Right now, families are hurting, and they're hurting because of the bills and the laws you're passing right now.
Senator Warnock, I'll give you an opportunity for a
Listen,
rebuttal.
I meet people all the time in my church who are trying to manage their diabetes. I've been there when they've gotten the news that they've got to get an amputation. And I think we're hearing from my opponent tonight that it's their fault that prices of insulin are being gouged. I don't think it's their fault. I think it's the fault of these pharmaceutical companies. Insulin's been around 100 years. The patent was sold for $1. They're engaged in price gouging, and too many people in Washington think they work for the pharmaceutical companies. I work for the people of Georgia.
Well, he's in Washington.
But yeah, that was weak. And that's a weak comeback, Warnock, that he's blaming the people for their insulin prices. Come on, I mean this is what I'm talking about. I'm like, Warnock, come on, that was such a weak comeback. And you got both parties are controlled by the pharmaceutical companies, the medical insurance companies, big pharma, you name it, the industries. Both parties are controlled by all of these industries, the gun lobbies, the police unions. Both parties are controlled by big tech, big companies, um, those all the different industries, you name them. So him, I don't know. Just like I said, just not good.
Can I finish? I work
Yeah.
for the people of
Yeah, but
Georgia.
you're in Washington.
And
You
that's
said
why I
you're
stand
in
up for them
Washington.
every
You're in
single
Washington,
day.
and you're the leader.
Mr.
You're
Walker,
in
let's
Washington, you're the
move
leader.
forward if we can. A follow-up question to you, Senator, in 30 seconds. Georgians need help right now. In your opinion,
Right.
is the answer another stimulus check, or is there a better option out there to deal with this right now?
We passed the Inflation Reduction Act. He's already told you he would vote against it.
It didn't reduce inflation.
He's already told you that he doesn't believe in capping the costs of prescription drugs for people like my 84-year-old mother.
No,
I don't think
told
they
him
should.
I didn't believe in
I don't think she should have to
Mr. Walker,
choose.
let's let him talk.
Yes.
You'll get a second.
I don't think she should have to choose between buying medicine and buying groceries. And that's why I've stood up for her, and I've stood up for hardworking families every single day, and I've stood against the corporations that are being bad actors. They're seeing record profits in the middle of a pandemic.
Okay, again, see, this guy can't. he- The question was, Georgians need help right now. Is there something that you plan to do, like another stimulus, to help Georgians right now? Total deflection. He didn't answer the question. He started talking about what, uh, yes, you got to take shots at the other side. I get that part, but you still got to answer the question. So take shots at Walker, fine. He didn't support the Inflation Reduction Act, but you ain't saying what it did. I mean, I could go look it up or whatever. I don't have, I don't, I'm not really that vested in whatever. But you're not explaining what this reduction Inflation Reduction Act did, or how did it help? What did it reduce? Was inflation at 7.5% and it brought it down to 5%? I mean, what did it do? Just saying an act that you uh, co-authored or voted on or supported or whatever, and Walker didn't. Walker's not the senator. So whether he said he would have supported it or not, it's kind of irrelevant. He's not the senator. His record as a senator is more important than what he's saying he would or would not support as a candidate to be senator. Your record, it weighs more than what he's saying that he would or would not support, and you're not really explain. He's not really explaining what that Inflation Reduction Act did. He just keeps name dropping. That's why I said he's not good, and he's letting. There's no way Walker should have had any chance in this debate. But anyway, let me keep going.
Who exploits a pandemic?
Gentlemen, we need to move on to our
Yes.
next topic in the interest of time. So that's election integrity.
Walker kind of looks like he's on
All
drugs
right,
too.
but
I mean, he kind of looks like like they gave him a Valium or something to calm him down or something. It looks like he just look. I mean, this is alleged, by the way. It looks like he's on something. He doesn't look high, like souped up, but he looks toned down. I don't know, smoke a bunch of weed or something. I don't know what he did. He looks out of it though.
thank you. Senator Warnock, this question is for you. You have said the new Georgia voting laws implemented after the 2020 election create many obstacles for underserved communities. Yet, there was record turnout in Georgia in the primary this May. According to research done by the Brennan Center for Justice, the African American vote grew approximately 50% from 2018 to 2022's primaries. Senator, can you explain how the law negatively impacts minority votes? You have 60 seconds, sir.
So I have spent my whole career long before coming to the Senate fighting for voting rights because I believe that a vote is a kind of prayer for the world we desire for ourselves and for our children. We register people to vote in my church. And in the Senate, I've stood up for democracy because that's the framework in which we get to fight for all of the things we care about. There is no question that SB 202 makes voting harder, and that is the intent. And the fact that many of our voters are overcoming this hardship doesn't undermine that reality. They've made it harder for folks to use the drop boxes. They've shortened the registration times. Folks are saying, you shouldn't have to, you should be able to get food or water in a line. I think the question is more fundamental than that. Why are the lines so long in certain communities and not others? And so I just want to encourage Georgia voters to keep showing up. Don't let anybody take your voice. Don't let anybody take your vote. It took too much to get here, and I'm honored to represent you in the United States Senate.
Senator,
Okay, I thought that was better. That was a clearer answer to the question. The question was, how does the Georgia voting law, I guess he referenced it, SB 202, how does that negatively impact minorities? So, he kind of framed it, how it, some of the things that they were saying, whether it's true or false, at least he did answer this question more directly that um, the lines are longer, you can't get water, food, while in the line, why the lines are longer, the drop boxes are harder to get to. So he did answer that question. That was better.
Warnock, thank you. Mr. Walker, we move to you now. In 2020, Georgia became the epicenter for questions on voter fraud. We'd like to hear your thoughts in 60 seconds. Did President Biden defeat former President Donald Trump in 2020? Again, sir, you have 60 seconds.
Well, first of all, I need to mention that he said that SB 202 really it made it easier to vote and harder to cheat. And she mentioned that more people turned out for the primary. So you gotten good at in Washington not answering the question because that was the question she asked you. And did President Biden win?
That is the question.
President Biden won.
Wait, that dude got a laugh out of the crowd, and it was kind of funny. It was like, you've been in Washington, you're getting good not answering questions. See, I don't know if he got somebody in his ear telling him what to say, But that was kind of a good clapback that he's getting good at not answering the question. I thought he did answer the question when because she said she asked how did the Georgia law negatively impact the minorities. He didn't answer that question. Now his question to him is, did Biden defeat Trump basically in the 2020 election? But he did. There was a nice redirect when he said, yeah, she stated that more minorities turned out or more black people turned out to vote. So that kind of defeats your point. He said it made it easier to vote and harder to cheat. So so looking at the evidence that he answered that question better. That was a better question for him. And th- and and now the question is, did Biden defeat Trump?
And Senator Warnock won. That's the reason I decided to run.
Okay, so
Because we need a change in Washington. We need leaders that's going to stand up to foreign leaders. We need people that's going to stand up for people in Georgia. Because Senator Warnock.
okay, so he did answer the question. He said yes. Okay.
President Biden defeat former President Donald Trump in 2020? Again, sir, you have 60 seconds.
Well, first of all, I need to mention that he said that SB 202 really it made it easier to vote and harder to cheat. And she mentioned that more people turned out for the primary. So you gotten good at in Washington not answering that question because that was the question she asked you. And did President Biden win?
That is the question.
President Biden won, and Senator Warnock won. That's the reason I decided to run. Because we need a change in Washington. We need leaders that's going to stand up to foreign leaders. We need people that's going to stand up for people in Georgia. Because Senator Warnock, he went to Washington, but he forgot about Georgia. And I want to stand for the people of Georgia. He just mentioned he's standing for the people of Georgia, but can he tell me why he voted with Joe Biden 96% of the time if he was standing for Georgia? That tells you that he's for Joe Biden, I'm for Georgia.
Now that's answered the question directly. He answered the question directly. He answered the question directly there, and um, nice redirect to frame him. Oh, he's just another Washington politician. I thought that was a pretty good exchange in Walker's favor, and he shouldn't be doing this good. Honestly, that's what I was saying. That's what prompted me um, to react to this because he shouldn't be doing this well. It should he should be outclassed. Warnock should be answering the questions straight. Your record is your record. You got to stand on it, and not all this political politician deflect, not really answer the question. But Walker is doing, like I said, somebody must be in his ear. It must be like, you know, um, what's his name, Roxanne, and the guy was telling, what is it? I can't even remember the name of it. But anyway, he's whispering in the guy's ear, telling him all the correct things to say. I don't know if that's going on, but man, it's working for Walker up to this point.
Mr. Walker, thank you. Now, before we move on, gentlemen,
I'd like to respond to that.
I will give you that opportunity, sir.
It is,
I will give you that opportunity, Senator. You have 15 seconds to respond.
it is very clear that my opponent would rather be running against anybody except me. But
I'm
either
happy
me,
to run
there
against
are only
him.
two people who are going to sit in this seat, either me or my opponent. And I think this race is about who's ready to represent the people of Georgia, and I'm thinking about them every single day.
But if he cut from the same cloth at 96% of the time, I'm running he and Joe Biden because they're the same.
Gentlemen,
That's a good clapback. Like, there's only two people running for this seat. It's either me or my opponent, and then he claps back that no, basically, it's two people. If there's two people in the seat with you, that's you and Joe Biden. So Walker's getting good clapbacks here, and I think um, Warnock didn't expect this. I think he probably underestimated him because up to this point, I would say Walker's winning this debate. That's a good
gentlemen,
clapback.
we are moving on now. This next question. This is a yes or no
Uh,
response, and
Yes or
this is
no?
for both of you, Senator Warnock Yes or no, regardless of who wins in November, will you accept the outcome?
Yes.
And Mr. Walker, regardless of who wins
Yes.
in November, will you accept the outcome?
Yes.
Okay, both
Thank you
answer
very
the
much.
question
Gentlemen, Buck,
directly.
over
Good.
to you.
Thank you, Tina. We
That's
turn
what you
now to
gotta
the
do.
topic of abortion. We're going to start with you,
Oh,
Mr.
hell.
Walker. A week before this debate, a former girlfriend made public
Oh,
accusations
hell.
saying you paid for
Wait. Hold up. Yo. Uh-oh. Is it about to go off the rail? Because now they're asking about the former girlfriend, the stories about Walker having a former girlfriend who, made him get, you know, an abortion or whatever. So here we go. Uh-oh.
abortion and that you encouraged her to have another. In an ABC News interview this week, you said that the accusations are, quote, all lies. For the voters watching tonight, can you explain the circumstances surrounding these claims? You have 60 seconds.
Well, as I said, that's a lie. And what most thing I put it in a book. One thing about my life is I've been very transparent. Not like the senator, he's hid things. But at the same time, I said that's a lie. And on abortion, I'm a Christian. I believe in life. And I tell people this, Georgia is a state that respects life, and I'll be a senator that protects life. And I said that was a lie, and I'm not backing down. And when you have Senator Warnock, people that would do anything and say anything for this seat, but I'm not going to back down because this seat is too important to the Georgia people for me to back down right now.
You've been
Okay, so he did answer that question. He stated it was a lie. You can't get more definitive than that. I mean, it is what it is. You think it's a lie, it's a lie.
vocally pro-life, supporting a ban on abortions without exceptions. Would you support a complete ban on a national level?
Well, first
30
of all,
seconds.
see, that's not true either. I said
Okay, so the question is, would you support a complete ban on a national level? Support a complete ban on a national level. That's the question.
I support the heartbeat bill. And I say I support the Georgia heartbeat bill because that's the bill of the people from Governor Kemp. And I said that has exceptions in it. I said I'm a Christian, but I'm also representing the people of Georgia, and that's who I represent. So what the people of Georgia stand for, I'm going to stand with them.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Okay, that's kind of bit of a deflection, because it was a national ban on abortion, not just specific to Georgia, but the question was about a national ban. So he deflected, but he kind of told you what he thought. So that's a deflection on Walker's part here. I don't know what question they're gonna ask Warnock, but he answered the first portion straight that the woman lied about him making her get an abortion or two or whatever. But now about a national ban, he kind of deflected and said, "Hey, I'm only for the Georgia ban," and that's not what he asked because senators can enact laws nationally as well. U.S. senators have that right, just like or that's part of their responsibility. They can pass laws from a national standpoint, not just well, that's what they do because he's not a Georgia senator. He's not running for a Georgia senator, he's running for a US senator. So he would be imposing on, let's say, California what Georgians want. So that's the way he answered the question. And if Warnock was smart, then that's how I would frame it. I would rebut it and say, well, it isn't right for you to impose on California, which is very liberal, or who else, New York or wherever else is very liberal, to impose on them what Georgians want. But that's in a sense what Walker said here.
Senator Warnock, you've said repeatedly that the exam room is too small for the patient, her doctor, and the U.S. government. We're asking you to take a clear position right now. Do you believe there should be any limitations on abortion set by the government? And you have 60 seconds.
I think that the women of this country and the women of this state woke up one summer morning and a core protection that they've known for 50 years was taken from them by an extremist Supreme Court. And I stand where I've said I stand in the past.
Let me go
That a
back
patient's
again.
room
Hold
is
on.
too narrow and
Hold on. I missed a question.
Walker. Senator Warnock, you've said repeatedly that the exam room is too small for the patient, her doctor, and the U.S. government. We're asking you to take a clear position right now. Do you believe there should be any limitations on abortion set by the government? And you have 60 seconds.
Okay, clear
I think
limitation.
that
Hold on.
the women of this
Clear limitation. Take a clear position on limitations about abortion on a national level. So he's kind of being asked the same question. He has to take a clear position on abortion on a national level, meaning what would he support on a national level on abortion? And let's see if he answers the question.
country and the women of this state woke up one summer morning and a core protection that they've known for 50 years was taken from them by an extremist Supreme Court. And I stand where I've said I stand in the past, that a patient's room is too narrow and small and cramped a space for a woman, her doctor, and the United States government. We are witnessing right now what happens when politicians, most of them men, pile into patients' rooms. You get what you're seeing right now. And the women of Georgia deserves a senator who will stand with them. I trust women more than I trust politicians.
Oh, God dang, totally did not answer the question. There was no clear position. You're just stating that the patient's room is too small for the patient, the doctor, and the U.S. government. But that doesn't state your clear position. Do you leave it up to the states, or do you think that that the there should be a national um, not a national ban on abortion, but a national law protecting abortion rights? Just say that, dude. God dang. I mean, I would think that he does want that, but why wouldn't he just say that? This is your point to say yes. I think there should be a federal law protecting abortion rights, and that will be the end of it. That means every state would, including Georgia, would have protected abortion rights. All he had to do was say that, and he didn't answer that question. He deflected all around. It's just weird. He's too much of a politician to be a politician, and he says, I mean, the nerve. Bill Burr said, the nerve for a politician to say, I trust women more than I trust politicians. This dude, man.
Respond.
Very quickly, Mr. Walker.
Yeah, you know, it is, and I heard about him. That I heard he's a neat talker. But did he not mention that there's a baby in that room as well?
Oh,
And
God.
also, did he
Oh,
not mention
oh, come. Dude, how are you losing to Walker, man? And I'm not for either one of these dudes. Again, I just to keep up with uh pop culture, because this is pop culture. Dude, that's a killer clapback. When you mention the only people in the patient's room is too small for the patient, the doctor, and the U.S. government. This dude claps back and says, "Did he not mention that there was a baby in that room?" Oh God, this how is he losing to this dude who can't even put a sentence together? Man, let me go back. This guy, this is this is embarrassing. Well, I'm 17 minutes in, and I'm sorry, guys. And I don't want this to be too long, but this is embarrassing. Let me go back here.
Georgia deserves a senator who will stand with them. I trust women more than I trust politicians.
may I respond?
Very quickly, Mr. Walker.
Yeah. You know, it is, and I heard about him. That I heard he's a neat talker. But did he not mention that there's a baby in that room as well?
Sheesh.
And also, did he not mention that he asking the taxpayer to pay for it? So he's bringing the government back into the room. So he's not talking about that.
Right.
So when he mentioned that, it's like I've not seen too many pastors that would say that statement.
Oh God.
Mr. Warnock, I'll give you a chance to rebut.
Oh, hold on. Oh God. This dude just called him out on his pastor credentials. What pastor is going to support abortion? Oh my God. This dude is killing this guy. And it ain't close right now. I don't know how the rest is going to come out. But how Warnock, dude. Oh my God. How is this dude? Somebody got to be in Walker's ear, or that dude is a lot smarter than he portrays himself on TV and interviews and everything else. But so, it's it's almost like they had Warnock's script of what he was going to say and had the perfect clapbacks here, because that's the excellent clapback. You don't even consider the baby to be in the room because you don't think it's a life as a pastor. Oh my God, this guy.
Pastor. I'm a man of faith, and I have a profound reverence for life and a deep respect for choice. And because I have such a profound reverence for life, it's one of the reasons why I've stood up to address this issue of maternal mortality in our country.
Oh, I gotta stop. It's going to be a deflection. Maternal. We're talking about abortion, and you want to. He got this guy playing. He's on the defense. Warnock is totally defensive here, so you got to deflect to female mortality when we're talking about abortion. Oh my God, he's killing this guy. Let me back it up, because so we can hear his whole. As soon as I heard the female mortality, okay, it's going into deflection land, because that's not the question. All right, let me hear the clap back again. Let me hear it one more time. Sheesh, it's worth hearing again because he got this dude totally defensive.
Yeah, you know, it is, and I heard about him. I heard he was a neat talker, but did he not mention that there was a baby in that room as well?
Sheesh.
And also, did he not mention that he asking the taxpayer to pay for it? So he's bringing the government back into the room. So he's not talking about that.
Right.
So
Sheesh.
when he mentioned that, it's like I've not seen too many pastors that would say that statement.
Mr. Warnock, I'll give you a chance to rebut.
I am a pastor. I'm a man of
Defensive.
faith, and I have a profound reverence for life and a deep respect for choice. And because I have such a profound reverence for life, it's one of the reasons why I've stood up to address this issue of maternal mortality in our country. We lead all of the Western nations on that front, and black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die even when they have the insurance and the income. Now, that's something government could actually do something about. And I joined with Marco Rubio of Florida to pass a bill to address maternal mortality. The women of Georgia have a clear choice as we're watching women die. Do you want a senator who wants to control your life, or do you want a senator who wants to save your life? I want to save your life.
Well,
Okay, now that's a good clap back on. He spent that, so he is a good politician because he spent that. Yeah, he deflected, but the statement at the end, do you want someone who wants to control your life or someone who wants to save your life? That's a great pander to black women. So point to Warnock, even though he was getting crushed at first on that part. Let's see what the clapback is going to be here. But that was a good recovery.
what's funny,
We need
man,
to keep moving, Mr. Walker.
I have to respond to this.
Very quickly.
Because he told me Black Lives Matter.
Oh
And if
God.
you think about it, Senator, in Atlanta, Georgia, there's more black baby that is aborted than anything. So if Black Lives Matter, why are you not protecting those babies? And instead of aborting those babies, why are you not baptizing those babies?
Oh damn. Drop the mic. Oh, oh God. Oh my gosh. Yo, who's in this dude's ear? Oh my God. That dude said, oh man. That dude said, Warnock, you told me Black Lives Matter. In Georgia, in Atlanta, there's more black babies aborted than anything. Why are you not? You talking about Black Lives Matter? Why are you not baptizing the? Oh, look, why? What do you say? Not aborting those babies? Why not baptize them? Hold on, I gotta go back. I gotta hear this again. Hold on. This is. Oh, damn, Warnock. He had a good recovery, and it's just taken
To
back.
save your life. I
Well,
want to save your life.
Well, what's funny,
We need
man,
to keep moving, Mr. Walker.
I have to respond to this.
Very quickly.
Because he told me Black Lives Matter. And if you think about it, Senator, in Atlanta, Georgia, there's more black baby that is aborted than anything. So if Black Lives Matter, why are you not protecting those babies? And instead of aborting those babies, why are you not baptizing those babies?
Mr. Warnock,
God, dog, that's a mic drop. I'm sorry. Okay, no point for Warnock because that totally went out the window. The Republicans have a they have very good they have a very good way of framing arguments against the Democrats. They always have. I've always said that whether I agree with them or not. They always know how to get the Democrats on the defensive. So whoever prepped him for this debate, they did a pretty good job because that's one of the that's one of the talking points that I see from Republicans on social media. Well, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. Well, if Black Lives Matter so much, why do black people abort so many black babies? That's indefensible. It- You can't defend that point. You really can't. As someone, you know, obviously from a Muslim standpoint, uh, from a Muslim standpoint, yeah, quote unquote, all lives will matter. Yeah, 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 whatever. I don't like to use these statements or whatever, except for those who the Hadud, the prescribed punishments constitute that your life be taken or your life is forfeit for some action that you committed. But abortion is totally, that's one of the things that Islam came to prevent. The Arabs had a pre what they call Jahiliyyah in the days of ignorance. Um, before the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam he came with Islam, the Arabs had this practice of burying female children alive. They would be heartbroken if they had a female, if they had a girl. So they would take that baby and bury that baby alive. And Islam came and stopped that practice because obviously a girl's life is just as important, if not more important, than the boy's life or whatever, or they're equally as important. Let me say it that way. Let me just be clear with my words. They're equally as important. A life is a life. You need both to continue. We need both to continue our species. We can't have a bunch of dudes running around and no women. We can't have a bunch of women running around and no dudes. We need there's the yin and yang, if you will. Allah created everything in pairs, and the male and the female are needed, for the purposes that they were created. So sitting up here so these people running around with the Black Lives Matter, they, and then it's this thing of, you are okay with abortions, then you look like a hypocrite, and he got him on that.
or Senator Warnock, we'll give you a chance to respond to that.
I think the women of Georgia have a clear choice. He says no exceptions, even in the case of rape, incest, or the life of the mother. I think that's extreme, it's out of touch with Georgia, and I intend to do the work that senators can do.
See, he didn't
Mr.
read
Walker,
the, heart, he
we've
didn't
got
read
to
the
move
heartbeat
forward.
bill, though. Wait, he didn't
We've
read
got
the
to move
heartbeat
forward, Mr.
bill.
Walker.
That there is exceptions for that in the heartbeat bill. So when he
All
makes
right, I'm going to
a
ask you to
statement that
respect
is
Mr.
untrue,
Walker that we need to
and I
move
do
on, okay?
respect
We've
that,
got,
but
we've
Senator,
got a
you have
lot
to
to get
read
in
that
tonight.
bill.
A follow-up question for you, Senator Warnock.
No, that was a decent turnaround. It was kind of a weak. It was a desperation. It was a Hail Mary pass on Warnock's side to say, well, he doesn't, you know, want any exceptions in abortion. It still doesn't take the heat off of you from what he said. Whether he made it clear, hey, I'm I'm anti-abortion, and then he said, well, you saying he doesn't support any exceptions, that plays more to his base. Your base already doesn't believe it. You got to answer for what you answer for. So that wasn't a good flip that he made on the other part because trying to call him out, he's clear he's anti-abortion. And yeah, he spent it. Walker tried to clean it up a little bit, and I support the heartbeat bill, and it does have exceptions. Blah blah blah. Blah. Okay, fine. But whether you support exceptions or not, it doesn't matter. You're clear that you're anti-abortion. Warnock is the one with the problem. Warnock is the one who's the pastor and saying Black Lives Matter, but is okay with abortion. I mean, he's the one that has the mess to clean up.
Warnock. We ask that you take a listen to something that you said at a rally just a couple of weeks
Oh,
ago.
hell.
So women, I trust women in their wisdom and their ability to sit with their own doctor. And if they choose, to sit with their pastor. And to pray about that and let their own conscience guide them. Even God gave us a choice.
Even God gave us a choice. Can you clarify what you meant by that? You have 30 seconds.
Oh, I think it's self-explanatory. God gave us a choice. And I respect the right of women to make a decision. These are medical decisions. They are deeply personal. Women find themselves in a range of circumstances. And this issue has been far too politicized. And we're witnessing right now the chaos that ensues as a result of that. And women right now who may be facing a miscarriage in some cases are wondering what will happen and how will they have to explain that. I think that's deeply problematic. There are enough politicians piling into the rooms of patients, and I don't plan to join them.
But just to
Well, you will join them if you make any kind of decision on legislation. I mean, he see that politician stuff doesn't work all the time because just you're going to join them in there. You're gonna protect them. I would just own it. Just own it, dude. Yes, I'm going to join them in their medical room to protect them, to help to protect their choice. I would have said it that way as opposed to because as a politician, that's what you do. You um you inject yourself into the lives of the people. So you're going to be your decisions will be in that medical room, good, bad, or indifferent. Whether you vote for or against something that would lower the cost of medicines, if you vote for or against something that would protect abortion, your choice is gonna be in the room. This is weak. This is a weak answer from him, man.
clarify, in your opinion, God gave us a choice in regards to abortion.
And that's terrible that this guy had to ask him the follow up just to get a clear answer. Dude, come on, man. He asked this guy the question again because it was so clear that he didn't answer the question. Let me go back because that's crazy to have to ask him the question again. Okay, this guy looks crazy too.
What will happen and how will they have to explain that? I think that's deeply problematic. There are enough politicians piling into the rooms of patients, and I don't plan to join them.
But just to clarify, in your opinion, God gave us a choice in regards to abortion.
It is apparent that God has given us a range of choices,
Oh
and the
God.
people of Georgia have a choice right now about who they think should represent them in the Senate.
And man,
Okay, before this guy just can't answer a question to save his life. I mean, okay. See, because they love to tout this Bible stuff, and they only look at things from now's perspective, the now. Why are they only looking at it from the now? So when, if you want to go back biblical times, there was no choice for abortion. You know, people could say, well, they were trying to perform abortions way back and so forth and so on. As women love to tell men to man up. Women just had to woman up and have those children for whatever it was. If they had to give them up to give them up to another family or whatever, that's what they did. But they didn't have that choice. Women have only received this choice in the last, what, 100 years or so, whatever, maybe less than that, that abortions are safe and legal. Um, again, like, yeah, you, so you didn't have that choice. You could give the babies up, or you could just outright murder the babies, like I was saying with the Arabs, what the Arabs used to do pre-Islam, when they would used to bury the babies alive. Hell, we even saw it on the movie 300. If the baby had any defects, it would be cast out. They would take it to this thing and so those choices were there, but before terminating, but the baby had to be born in order for that to happen or whatever. So this choice, quote unquote, only came very recently in terms of human history.
I have to respond.
Mr. Walker, we do have to move on to our next
This will
topic.
be very short, because he's correct. God gave us a choice. But also within the Bible, if you read the Bible more, God said, choose life.
Sheesh.
In the Bible, it says, I give you a choice. Just like Adam and Eve had a choice, but they chose death.
Very
And
quick
God
rebuttal,
says you
very
choose.
quick. Mr. Walker, we need to move forward.
I think he wants to arrogate to politicians more power than God has.
All right, gentlemen, thank
You're doing the same thing, dude. Everything that he hits, you guys are running for the same seat. So you're really not knocking Walker. You're giving. So okay, if he's giving more power to the politicians, well then you're giving more power. You're giving the power of choice of God to the average everyday woman. I, I mean, he's not good at the clapbacks. He thinks he's too smart for his own good.
you. We're going to have to move on to our next topic, okay? Tina?
We are moving on, gentlemen, on the next topic, and it is about student loans. We turn to Christian Dent, a college student and Nexstar News Nation viewer from Locust Grove, Georgia.
As a college student at the University of Georgia, me and my peers are often faced with confronting the rising costs that come with obtaining a college degree. In the United States Senate, will you support further forgiveness of student loan debt? And if so, how will you implement it in the United States Senate on a federal level?
Okay, so do you support student loan forgiveness, and how would you implement it on a federal level? Straightforward.
Thanks to Christian for that question. Senator Warnock, your answer, please, in 60 seconds.
I wouldn't be standing here tonight if it weren't for low interest student loans and Pell Grants. And in the years since I've graduated, that path has gotten harder. I ran into a couple on a flight, and they wrote a note for me. They were with their one-year-old son. They said, whatever you do, please do something about this student debt. The mother said, I borrowed $35,000. I paid back $20,000. I still owe $30,000. And that's why I pushed the president to do student debt relief. He did $10,000, and with my urging, he did $20,000 for folks with Pell Grants. I think it was the right move. It will spur entrepreneurship, home ownership. It helps kids in technical schools and vocational schools, not just four-year colleges. But we need reform. We shouldn't be doing this again 10 years from now. And I'm working right now on the kind of reform we need because college is outpacing the price of everything else in our economy.
A follow-up for you, sir. Why do you believe this should be done through executive action instead of Congress? And also, how would this be funded? You have 30 seconds.
Oh God.
The president has already moved to do student debt relief. And there's additional relief for folks like me who, when they got student loans, were Pell Grant eligible. But there's no question we need reform in the system so that we can get the cost of college underway. We don't find ourselves here again. And that's my position. Thank you.
Okay, so that clearly that wasn't an answer. Do you support the student loan debt forgiveness? Okay, yes, I helped Joe Biden push it. Okay, got that part. How do you implement it on a federal level? And she asked a follow-up because he didn't answer the question, if you didn't catch it. The reason why she said, okay, you supported Joe Biden doing an executive level or pretty much an executive order. Why not? Why isn't it a congressional act or bill, basically a law, to support student loan debt forgiveness? And he didn't answer the question. Let's see what Walker does here.
Warnock, thank you. Mr. Walker, to repeat Christian's question, will you support further forgiveness of student loan debt? And if so, how would you implement it?
Well, first of all, you can see
60
that.
seconds, sir. I
Yes,
apologize.
first of all, you can see that Senator Warnock has gotten good at being in Washington because you asked the question, why did Congress not do it instead of the president doing an executive order, which is what should have been done. And as I was traveling around the state of Georgia.
Okay, see, even Walker picked up on that. This is what I'm saying. Like, damn, even the guy who says he's not that smart picked up on that you didn't answer the question. I mean, clearly, anybody listening to this, man, my goodness, this dude is not. He's not a very good debater. Warnock is, and I did not expect anything from Walker. I thought this was going to be entertainment, and to see that he's actually doing a lot better uh than expected is crazy. I don't know how you would lose a debate to this guy. I don't, and again, we're halfway through. To me, it is clear who's winning this debate. Whether it's not going to move people, and this doesn't mean that Walker is smarter than he was before he walked in here. I'm just surprised.
Well, first of all, you can see
60
that.
seconds, sir. I
Yes,
apologize.
first of all, you can see that Senator Warnock has gotten good at being in Washington because you asked the question why did Congress not do it instead of the president doing an executive order, which is what should have been done. And as I was traveling around the state of Georgia, I talked to people. Some people that wanted to go to college, they couldn't. So they end up going and working on father's farm. Some military wanted to go to college, they didn't. So he went to the military, may have lost an arm. So this is not right. Georgia people say it's not right, they say it's unfair. First of all, how can you transfer someone debt who owe it to someone that don't owe it? And also, Senator Warnock brags about making $400 billion that now the taxpayer, all you in the audience, got to pay for. You got to pay that debt. And I didn't co-sign for anyone's loan. I hope no one out here co-signed for anyone's loan because I didn't co-sign for anyone's loan.
Okay, this is this is hilarious. Okay, he's not answering the question directly either, but from his answer you can deduce that he's not for student loan forgiveness. So yeah, I probably would have just answered no and then took all the shots at Warnock. But he's going the long way around to say no and taking shots at Warnock. So he doesn't support student loan forgiveness. So then there's no need to answer how to implement it. So this guy's hilarious.
And it's not right, it's not fair.
So that will be a no, and
Mr.
he did. So there's no need for him to answer how to implement it because he doesn't agree with it.
Walker, we're continuing with a follow-up for you now, Mr. Walker. College tuition, it skyrocketed 175% over the past 20 years. What will you do to stem the cost of higher education going forward?
Well,
And you have 30 seconds.
first of all, what you should do is get rid of federal funding of any college that raised their costs. Get rid of federal funding of any college that raised their costs. That's the first thing that you should do.
So that is what you would do.
Yeah, that's what
We're
I would
asking
do.
what
Any
you
college,
would do.
well, any college that raised their costs, I get rid of any federal funding that they're going to get.
Okay, you might not agree with it, but damn, he answered the question direct, and he could barely get it out the federal funded part. But damn, if he didn't answer the question, whether you agree with it or not, whether it works or not, but he did answer that question.
Thank you.
You know,
We're moving on.
I find it interesting that folks are
Senator
offended
Warnock,
by.
Senator Warnock,
Yes.
I'm going to give you this one. I'm going to
Thank
give you a
you.
pass for 15 seconds.
I will be very brief, I promise.
Very brief.
It's interesting to me that folks who have been crying about the student debt relief haven't said anything about multi-billionaire corporate entities who've gotten PPP loans.
Oh God, I know he's not gonna. When Democrats got it too. Oh, Warnock, come on, man. The question wasn't about PPP loans. I wish they did have that question so we can hear his answer because the Democrats and the Republicans are the same on it. Democrats and Republicans, hell, wasn't a who was the president at the time? Who was in control of the Senate and the House when those PPP loans got flowing out? Who set the criteria for PPP loans to be given out? Wasn't Warnock one of those people, and Joe Biden and the rest of the Republicans and Democrats on in Congress, and you were one of them. Um, he's not a senator, man. This is weak. Damn,
I wonder why Mr.
he wasn't
We're
asked
going
that
to move
question.
on. We're moving on. Thank
Well,
you.
that is
Thank
good
you, Senator
because he got a
Warnock.
PPP
Your
loan
time
as
is
well.
up.
See,
Mr. Walker, we are moving.
God dang, man. Oh, damn. Somebody's in Walker's ear, or that dude is playing. You know what? Is Walker playing that? You guys know the old mafia boss from Gigante, Vincent Chin Gigante. He used to walk around like he was an idiot, still controlling the which crime family? He came from the crime family of Lucky Luciano and Frank Costello and those guys. I forgot which family that is. But anyway, Vincent Chin Gigante, he used to walk around in a shower coat and a shower cap and slippers, having somebody parade him around. He did this for years to say he was mentally inept and he was running the damn crime family. Is this what's going on with Walker here? Is this Herschel Chin Walker? I mean, damn. I mean, dude, how are you setting yourself up to get okey doke like that? You're setting yourself up to get a slap back. You're getting slapped back. He's slapping you back in the face. The clap back from a guy who says he's not that smart, barely articulate himself. And this guy couldn't do nothing but raise his damn hands after he made that statement that he got a. Let me play this again. This is embarrassing.
Seems to me that folks who have been crying about the student debt relief haven't said anything about multi-billionaire corporate entities who've gotten PPP loans. I wonder why Mr.
We're going to
Walker is
move
not
on.
talking about
We're
it.
moving on.
Well,
Thank
that
you.
is
Thank
good
you, Senator
because he got a
Warnock.
PPP
Your
loan
time
as
is
well.
up. Mr. Walker, we are
It's a
moving
good
on.
little clap back.
Your
We're going to
church
move
got
on to
one,
minimum
see?
wage. Gentlemen, we have
Yes.
a lot to get through
Yes.
tonight. We've made that clear at the
That
top
du-
of the hour.
that dude said his church got one, and that dude just raised his hand like, "Oh well, this is embarrassing." Damn, I was totally. I'm gonna say it now. I was totally wrong because I was saying Walker should not do this debate. It is not. It shouldn't be close. Walker's that there's a big mistake by his team to do this debate, and apparently they knew something that I didn't because this is showing here.
So
Yes.
let's get as many questions as we can in because Georgia voters want to know where you stand on these issues. They have to make a decision. Let them know tonight. Buck?
Thank you, Tina. Now, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, 14% of Georgians live in poverty. The federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, a number that has not increased since 2009. Let's do this by a simple showing of hands. Raise your hand if you support a federal minimum wage. Okay, Mr. Walker, you did not raise your hand, so I'd like to ask you, first of
Wait a
all,
minute,
why
damn.
not, and what would you do to help struggling Georgians?
Well, when you say a federal, um, I think right now, and he said that I want the federal government. No, he wants the federal government to run your life. Right now, I think you have to work with different corporations and see just where they can pay. There are some companies right now, and he should know this, after getting the All-Star game moved out of Atlanta, they destroyed a lot of small businesses. So those small businesses couldn't pay $15, $20 an hour. So they have to pay what they're capable of paying. So to mandate a federal fee that they have to pay hourly wage, no, I couldn't approve that.
Thank you.
And see the reason why it was done though, Walker. Now, if he'd have flipped it and said I support a Georgia minimum wage, but he's not a Georgia senator. He's a U.S. senator. So uh, because things are going to be different, but there has to be some minimum because if not, companies start charging what they want to charge, and they say, okay, well this job pays you know 250 an hour to work here, whatever, because businesses are going to lower their costs, and a lot of times obviously the major cost of a business is one of the major costs of a business is labor. So you want to try to reduce those costs at all, whenever you can. And if they can get away with not paying $10 an hour, but they can pay five, of course the company is going to do that. But the federal minimum wage, the government said, okay, well look, we have to cap it because, you know, someone working in a restaurant over here and someone working over the incomes are too disparate. But yeah, we take in the cost of living in each place, and we adjust it. So federal minimum wage may be $7 in Georgia. It may be, let's just say $15 in California, but those guys can pay $7 or whatever if they have to. But most states are like, all right, well, we have to do something because $7 you just can't live on or whatever in Cali or whatever. But I'm not an expert on that, but he doesn't support it, so I mean, whatever.
Mr. Walker, Senator Warnock, you did not raise your hand, so why
She's there,
not, and
the
what would
same
you
on
do to
this.
help
Well,
struggling Georgians?
I believe in the dignity of work, and I believe in the dignity of workers. I watched my dad work really hard to take care of his family.
I mean, this dude always got to just answer the question, dude. Damn.
And I've seen what we call essential workers, these folks who are on the front line, stand up for us in the midst of the pandemic. We call them essential workers. They deserve an essential wage and essential benefits. In other words, workers deserve to participate in the prosperity that they are creating for others. And so I've been a part of this conversation around a
Sheesh.
minimum wage. I think people need a livable wage.
Okay,
And
there you go.
some of
God
that
dang.
is being addressed right now in this strong labor market. So I'm willing to work with folks in the corporate community as well as the labor community to figure out how we get to a good place. But there's no question, people deserve to participate in the prosperity that they're creating for others. They deserve a livable wage, and they deserve benefits.
Okay, so he's basically on the side of uh, the federal minimum wage ain't enough. The wages have to go up, um, which is essentially saying raising the federal minimum wage. But politicians are going to politic. It is what it is.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. We're going to move to our next topic. Tina?
And that topic is crime and
Oh hell.
violence. In June, Congress passed the first bipartisan legislation to combat gun violence in 30 years. According to a Pew Research poll released in July, 78% of Americans think the new gun law will do little or nothing to reduce gun violence. Senator Warnock, I turn to you first. As the number of shootings in Georgia and across the nation continue to rise, what should be done? What should the next step be to solve this issue? You have to answer this question, sir, and I give you 1 minute.
Well, I'm glad that we finally passed the first gun safety law in 30 years. And we did that on a bipartisan basis. I believe that this law will indeed save lives, and I'd like to see us work and see what we can achieve beyond that on a bipartisan basis. My heart goes out when I see the kinds of tragedies that we're witnessing all across our state, all across our country, and it's the reason why I have passed legislation to support law enforcement. I passed the largest investment in the COPS program in a decade. I introduced legislation called Invest to Protect that's endorsed by the sheriffs of Burke County and Scriven County because it supports some of our smaller law enforcement entities. So we got to stand up with law enforcement, but we've also got to create opportunity.
Senator Warnock, thank you.
They're going to be close on this because both parties are in the cops' back pocket. That's why I said, the police unions control both parties. So I'm not going to be surprised that their answers are going to be similar. They're going to take shots at each other because that's all they have on this particular topic.
Mr. Walker, we're posing the same question to you, sir. In 1 minute, what should the next step be to solve gun violence?
Well, first of all,
Well, let me say this. Let me be clear. They're going to both support. They both support cops. One supports gun restriction. The other won't. And then they're going to take shots at each other. No pun intended.
any law or bill passed that affect anyone's Second Amendment, I'm not going to stand for and I won't support. But third, to hear Senator Warnock talks about supporting law enforcement is sad because he's called them names. And because of the name calling he's done, the morale is down, recruitment is down, only because of what he's done. He's empowered criminals to think they're better than the police. And because he believes in no cash bail, in releasing prisoners He don't protect the border. Fentanyl is coming to this country and also into Atlanta. 70% of the drugs coming from the border goes to Atlanta, Georgia. And he talks about the police. I have more sheriffs that has endorsed me than anyone running in Georgia right now. And I even have some sheriffs here, and they've endorsed me because they know I have their back, they're gonna have my back. So to listen to him say that after calling them name, I think is a disgrace.
Okay, so yeah, like I said, they're gonna tout how much they are pro cop, and they're gonna differ on guns, reducing gun rights, or Second Amendment rights. So one Warnock is against, he's for reducing Second Amendment or gun rights. Obviously, Walker is not. They both are pro cop and pro get 'em cops, that kind of thing. And then I'm expecting for the fireworks because the commercials running about violence. I saw one for both. The Walker one about his wife saying he was trying to kill her, and then even Warnock got one where his ex-wife was like he tried to hit her with a car. So, crime and violence, they're probably going to take shots at each other.
Mr. Walker, thank you. I have a follow-up now for both of you.
I think I ought to be able to respond to that.
I will give you the opportunity, 15 seconds to respond, Senator Warnock.
We will see time and time again tonight, as we've already seen, that my opponent has a problem with the truth. And just because he said something doesn't mean it's true. I have supported our police officers. I've called them and I've prayed with their families, like those officers lost in Cobb County when they were killed, doing what police officers routinely do. You can support police officers, as I've done, through the COPS program, through the Invest to Protect program, while at the same time holding police officers, like all professions, accountable. One thing I have not done, I've never pretended to be a police officer.
What? I knew it was coming. Holy crap. I'm sorry, y'all. I knew this was coming, but let me get back.
And I've never threatened a shootout with the police.
Okay, that's
and now
funny.
I have to respond to that.
We are moving on,
I have
gentlemen.
to respond to that. And you know what's so
Yeah,
funny?
he does.
I am with many police officers, and at the same time,
He held up a badge. I told you, this is comedy. This dude held up some badge that we don't know where you got it from. Yo, dude. Now, this is where okay, is it gonna go off the rails here? I knew at some point Walker can't continue. He can't continue the run that he's been on. This dude pulled out some badge from who knows where. My goodness. Okay. Is this where it goes downhill for Walker?
Mr. Walker, Mr. Walker, Mr. Walker, excuse me, Mr. Walker. Please, out of respect, I need to let you know, Mr. Walker, you are very well aware of the rules tonight.
Yes.
And you have a prop.
Yes.
That is not allowed, sir. I ask you to put that prop away.
Well, it's not a prop. This is real. And he said, I have a problem. I never worked with law enforcement.
It is considered a prop, Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
You're very well aware of the rules. Aren't you?
Well,
Aren't you aware of the
he
rules?
brought up the
Just
truth.
yes,
Talk
bro.
about the truth.
Thank you for putting that prop away. And as a matter of fact, we still have a lot to get to, and we are not going to continue this. We're going to follow up with a question, and this is according to the CDC.
Man.
Homicide is the leading cause of death for African American youth. Mr. Walker, in 30 seconds, why do you believe this is happening, and what would you do to stop it?
Well, what I would do is hold people accountable, which is Senator Warnock not doing. Believing in no cash bail, no accountability, that is a problem. People must be accountable for their action. And the truth lies with Senator Warnock, because he said he was going to Washington to represent Georgia. He went to Washington to represent Joe Biden. That's the reason we're in the mess we're in today, because he represents Joe Biden and not the truth for Georgia.
Senator Warnock, this follow-up for you, same question. What do you believe
He didn't answer the question,
homicides
though.
among African American youth is growing? Why are those homicides growing, sir? And how do we stop it?
Okay, so Walker clearly didn't answer the question. He deflected and took a couple of more shots at Warnock. Let's see if Warnock answers the question. But yeah, Walker definitely. Neither one of them are going to be able to are going to be able to answer the question because of their bases. The Democrats don't care about black youth being killed. Of course, the Republicans don't either. So there's going to be no clear answers on this. I think it's going to be just more pot shots taken here. I don't believe Warnock is going to answer the question succinctly because we know what the problem is and we know how to solve the problem. And if you don't know what the problem is with where we see a lot of crime, and it has always been that way since this country was established, in the lower socioeconomic areas, i.e., in poor areas, crime is always higher. It is always a direct correlation. It always has been, and it always will be. Now, um, those the and it's not for the politicians to solve this issue. Black Americans are going to have to solve this issue, in particular, Black American men, you know, if we say we care about the community, it's just going to be what it is. Um, Leading the way, and obviously, Black American women choosing, doing their part. And the first part of that is to choose better fathers for their children. That's the first thing that we need to do there. And not having children without being married. And I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here, but let me digress for a minute. But what to do with the children that are already born? So that's how we prevent it going forward. But what to do with those who are already born? Black Americans are absolutely 100% going to have to start their own businesses and industries. We actually have to have a parallel economy to what we see the U.S. economy. Anything that black people need, there should be a black person selling it or making it. And that's going to, that black people are more than likely going to employ people who look like them. Getting these people to work and to not just activities of playing basketball and all that kind of crap, but there has to be jobs for these young people, and then there has to be other things to um, move them forward in terms of academic because the education system that they're getting, is trash for the most part. The public school systems are trash. There has to be some knowledge of self, academic programs after school if it has to be, um, things teaching people how to code, teaching some of the STEM fields so that these people can start to you know make money and so forth. But so he's never going to say those types of things that we're going to have to do in order to solve the problem. He's just going to double down on more police. This is my prediction: more police, more locking up, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's heartbreaking, and I've seen this up close as a pastor. I've presided over some of these funerals. I've met with young people, and we have to have rules and laws in the society,
Of course.
which I support and I've
Yeah.
invested in as a legislator. At the same time, we have to create opportunity. There's no sickness like the loss of hope. When people lose hope, when they doubt that their life can be any longer, or that they can dream of something bigger than the street they live on, a lot of things can happen. I grew up in one of those neighborhoods, but I had a nurturing family, and I benefited from good federal public policy, like the Head Start program, like Upward Bound, like Pell Grants and low-interest student loans. And to invest in our children is to invest in our best resource.
Senator Warnock, thank you. We are moving on, gentlemen.
So yeah, I mean, he did more than I thought he was going to do. But he can't outright say he's going to do anything for black people. We know this, and especially young black boys. He definitely, because the hell that'll piss black women off even. For the most part, if you just say you're going to do something specifically for young black boys, and you didn't mention girls, that'll piss them off too. So
To the next question, and this topic is about personal integrity. Buck?
We're going to shift gears a
oh
little bit
God.
here. Senator Warnock, in 2020, you tweeted this. Unemployment benefits have expired, rent is due, and many Georgia families are at risk of eviction. My opponents are supposed to be serving the people in Washington, but they are clearly concerned with their own interests. Well, recent published reports talk about a property that your church owns, Columbia Towers at MLK Village in Atlanta. It's a home for the disadvantaged. At least a dozen lawsuits have been filed by residents evicted for not being able to pay their rent. Some of the outstanding balances are less than $30. As someone who receives more than $7,000 a month for a housing allowance from Ebenezer Baptist Church, how do you explain this to Georgia voters who are struggling currently to make ends meet?
Well, let me say that serving in the United States Senate
Hell.
and continuing to serve my church is the honor of my life. And it gives me a lens through which to do the work that I'm doing. But here's why you know I'm running against a desperate candidate.
Oh God.
Anytime a candidate would stoop to the level of trying to sully the name, he and his allies, to sully the name of Martin Luther King Jr.'s church. And
No, he did not pull the MLK card out. He pulled it. He went to the MLK church, invoked the name of Martin Luther King. Oh God, let me go back. You can tell he about to lie. Look at him. Look at it. Look at that right there. Hold on. Hold on. Let's zoom in. You can tell he's thinking of a lie right there. Oh my gosh, this dude is thinking of a lie right there.
well, let me say that serving in the United States Senate and continuing to serve my church is the honor of my life. And it gives me a lens through which to do the work that I'm doing. But here's why you know I'm running against a desperate candidate. Anytime a candidate would stoop to the level of trying to sully the name, he and his allies, to sully the name of Martin Luther King Jr.'s church and John Lewis's church, you know that's a
He
desperate
invoked
candidate.
John Lu. Hold up. This dude did not only did he invoke Martin Luther King, but he said John Lewis also. Dude, this is a desperate move. This is desperate.
Let me tell you about my church.
Oh
My
God.
church is a Matthew 25 church. We spend every week, every day feeding the hungry and the homeless. They know that those false charges that they've created are not true. We stand up for poor people every single day, and I ran for the Senate to do at a policy level what we do at a local level every single day. I'm not going to be distracted by him and his allies. My people know the truth. They know the work we do every single day, and I couldn't be prouder of them. Proud to represent the Senate and proud to serve Ebenezer Baptist Church.
So just to clarify, your
Oh
position is
God.
that the allegations in these lawsuits are not true?
I am saying that it is very
Dude.
obvious that my opponent and his
Holy
allies
crap.
are busy trying to sully Ebenezer Baptist Church.
Then when the moderator got to re-ask the question, you were bull jiving. You know you were on that dude, you were shucking and jiving. The moderator got to ask and it stands out so much when the moderator. Wait a minute, just to be clear, 'cause dude, Walker and his people, as he says, they didn't file the charges. They may be using it against you to quote unquote sully the name of your church. Either your church did it or not. If your church didn't do it, a judge would have thrown the lawsuits out. Yeah, I haven't heard any of this, but in terms of what that church has been accused of, so this is my first time hearing that. But I would imagine that you know, if the charges are unfounded, they will get thrown out at some point. I don't know how long this stuff has been going on, but and churches have a right to make money and do business, but they also the church may be doing excellent work in the community. Fine, that's all well and good, but it has to it has to sustain itself some kind of way. And I've always looked at that model for, you know, masjids, well, the Muslim places of worship, that's something that, certain masjids should do, especially those down in the black communities, to where they should actually have been buying up properties around some of these masjids in some of the downtown areas. It's being regentrified now, so in a lot of places. So what we'll see, we're seeing the same thing on the Christian side, but I'm Muslim. So what we're seeing is in some of the black neighborhoods, or some of the black areas of different cities, you know from Philly, New York, Atlanta, LA, you kind of name it, right? Some of those Midwest cities. What's happening is that a lot of the churches and messages that are in the downtown areas where black people predominantly resided, instead of them buying up the properties around, like houses, or whatever that's around the church and or around the masjid, they they for years they just didn't do that, and then the houses get abandoned and left, and then outside entities come in and start buying up those properties, rehabbing them, and then now what you're seeing in a lot of areas is you're seeing a lot of those yuppies, a lot of these Gen Zs, millennials, or whatever they call them, whatever these people are called. They're coming in and they're white or Asian, got their dogs running around, walking their dogs up and down the street. So then now the whole area around a particular black church, or a predominantly black American masjid, it's nothing but white people living around those areas. So then that means the people who come to pray at these places got to come from outside of the neighborhood to come pray, or to whatever they do at the church, or the masjid, or whatever, the fellowship, or whatever they call it. So they got to come from the outside, where these entities, these churches or messages, should have brought up the properties, rehabbed them themselves, and rented them out for families who actually live and who would come and worship there. So that way the area would always stay black. But then, so then what's going to happen is the property values are going up because these houses are rehabbed, and they're selling, you know, and now the property taxes on churches are going up to where, okay, it's bad enough to try to keep the lights on. Same thing is happening to masjids too, by the way. So it's bad enough to try to keep, just to get money from the people who pray there, to keep the lights on and keep the place functioning and running. But now you're also having to, your expenses are going to go up because of the property taxes. So it's just bad business all around. So yes, your church could so if his church is doing that, and hey, they they have to, if they own some of this property and then people can't pay, what are you supposed to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, well, you take up collection at church for that particular family, and it go into the housing. And I get, like, the church has, you know, I think they should be self-sustaining, the churches or the masjids. So you shouldn't just always just have to milk the people for all of its funds. But, you know, that seems to be the situation that they're in.
Now you see the
That's what I'm
problem
aware
with the
of.
truth.
Yeah.
Switching gears a little bit here, sir. Your ex-wife filed a lawsuit
Yes.
asking for
Oh,
increased
hell.
child support, saying that she had to pay for
Oof.
child care on days that your duties as a senator interfered with your
Oof.
parenting time, and citing significant increases in your income. In
Wow.
30 seconds, what is your response?
Okay, this is a new one because I hadn't heard anything about this stuff. I mean, they are going in, like, oh, let's see how uncomfortable he is being hit with something so personal about his ex-wife having to file for increase in child support. Oh my gosh.
Response to that lawsuit?
Listen,
Yeah,
I went
he's
through a
really
divorce,
uncomfortable.
like a lot of people. And while that was a painful period, what came out of that was two amazing children
Oh, he's really
that I just
uncomfortable.
talked to before I came on this stage. And And my children know that I am with them and for
No, that
them,
ain't the question.
and that I support them in every single way that a father does.
Thank you, Senator Warnock.
Yeah, he was really uncomfortable. Yeah, Warnock's not doing good in this debate at all. That was he didn't handle that well at all. And you know, I don't know, I would have probably lied, but I would at least addressed it specifically and was like, look, yeah, hell, I don't know how the hell you lie to that one because if your kids are so important, maybe you shouldn't have became a senator. If you were doing if you were doing well enough to, being a senator, then you have to have someone that's well. You have to have I would have expected to be better, a family unit. So she's on your page. Your wife is on your page, and she knows there's going to be sacrifices. She signed up for it. She's in it with you because like with Obama and them, right? Um, at first, Michelle didn't want him to run, and they were going to get a divorce and all this kind of stuff. And then she got on his page and was like, "All right, look, I know there's going to be sacrifices that you have to make in order to get where you need to get. It is what it is." So with him, she didn't sign up for that because they were already divorced by the time he became a senator. So now you're saying, "Oh, well, you can't, you know, you are disappointing the kids because we're not together." Right? It would have been different if they were living together and married and in Washington and they're together. He can come home and help with the kids and see his kids or whatever. But now they're in Georgia and you're in Washington, and well, you can't do X, Y, and Z because you chose to become a senator. You didn't have to be. So I don't know I don't know how I would have answered that question, but he ain't answer it good. I tell you that much.
Now to you, Mr. Walker.
Uh oh.
Recent ads have highlighted allegations of past domestic violence. They've
Oh
raised
hell.
questions about how transparent you've been as far as your resume. In 1 minute, how do you respond to voters who question your integrity, both personally and professionally?
First of all, I've been very transparent, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. And I say I had a mental problem, and I'll be a champion for mental health because so many people suffer from mental health.
Damn.
But to have people like Senator Warnock that demonize mental health, when I want to tell everyone out there, you can get help. Don't listen to Senator Warnock and his people. You can get help. All you got to do is ask. All you got to do is ask. But the problem with the truth, you just saw it. You just saw it because he won't answer that about evicting the people from the church. And I told him I'll pay their salary. You're evicting them right now during these hard times.
We have not evicted. We have not evicted those
I
tenants.
didn't write the article.
See, now Warnock is totally on the defensive again. Now he's admitting that we haven't evicted. So, but you didn't address when you were asked the question specifically about that particular particular thing. You acted like it didn't exist. You talked about how much good the church does in the community. Fine, but you should have addressed head on. Hey, we haven't evicted anyone. You know, yes, the church has taken on some properties and there's tenants there. Some of them can't pay their rent. And as a church, we're working to try to figure out how to help them get a job or to get income to take. He could have totally spent it, but now he comes back when Walker brings it back up, and Walker flipped this question about, okay, damn, I had a mental issue when I said all this stuff about my wife. People will totally forgive that because mental issues we're seeing are real, especially black people saying that anytime a black person, especially a black man, has a mental breakdown and cops are called, he's going to most likely be killed. So mental issues, so him saying, look, I had mental problems at the time, I got help. Hell, I would have blamed it on CTE. Hell, I was taking a lot of hits. you know, the, but I mean, not to make jokes about mental illness, but I mean, he addressed it. Let me go back because Warnock, man, damn, yeah, Walker's right. That dude, in a short time, he's learned to be a politician very, very well. But I mean, then again, he was a pastor, and no disrespect to any of you who might be pastors out there, but a lot of y'all be slick talkers, man. Y'all will talk, boy, and say one thing out of the side of your mouth and mean something totally different. And Warnock is a master at that at this point.
Ask. All you got to do is ask. But The problem with the truth, you just saw it. You just saw it because he won't answer that about evicting the people from the church. And I told him I'll pay their salary. You're evicting them right now during these hard times.
We have not evicted.
Sheesh.
We have not evicted those
I
tenants.
didn't write the article.
See?
You're.
See?
I didn't write the article. And most of the people out there steal my time.
I'm okay with the discussion. If you start talking over each other, we have to move forward.
Warnock is totally defensive. Damn.
We have not
Let you
evicted
speak,
the
then I can
tenants,
speak, Senator.
and he should take that money and pay it back to the veterans that he exploited while pretending to run
that too. And see, you can tell that he's not desperate because if he had read in that thing, he would have saw that I had nothing to do with that.
See?
But he is so desperate right now, and he really want that seat. He's now telling you, I didn't evict anyone. It is written in the paper. I didn't do this. Well, Senator, you did. And it's okay to speak the truth.
Right.
Do not bear false witness, Senator. Do not bear false witness.
Mr. Walker.
Yo. I'm sorry, y'all. Oh my God. Somebody got to be in Walker's ear. This can't be real. Like, are we in the Twilight Zone, or are we in the we are somewhere. We are somewhere. We are somewhere. Are we like in the Mandela effect? I mean, what is going on here? This dude's clapback game is crazy. They prepped this dude very well. It shouldn't even be this close. This dude said, "Do not bear false witness." He's tearing a pastor up on scripture. Oh, dang. Let me go back. I'm sorry. I'm enjoying this. I'm glad I caught this reaction live because like I said, I haven't seen any of this.
See, you can tell that he's not desperate because if he had read in that thing, he would have saw that I had nothing to do with that. But he is so desperate right now, and he really want that seat. He's now telling you, I didn't evict anyone. It is written in the paper. I didn't do this. Well, Senator, you did. And it's okay to speak the truth. Do not bear false witness, Senator. Do not bear false witness.
Mr. Walker, to keep this moving, I want to follow up with you. You have been very open on your, Senator Warnock, we need to move forward here. You have been very open about your struggles with mental illness, and you even wrote a book about your diagnosis of dissociative identity disorder. We recently asked if you were still receiving treatment, and this is what you had to say.
No, that's all done, and you don't need to, and that's why I tell people. I think one thing I told people is I've been open about it, and I was open about it, 14 years ago.
Mr. Walker, in 30 seconds, can you clarify this? Are you saying you no longer have dissociative identity disorder, or is this something that you continue to this day to manage?
No, you don't have to have treatment for it. And I encourage people to continue to talk to people. I talk to my pastors. I talk to my pastors, and I continue to get help if I need help. But I don't need any help. I'm doing well. But that's the reason why I tell anyone out there that is suffering from any type of mental illness, you can get help. All you got to do is ask. And I will always be a champion for mental health.
And just to clarify, how can Georgia voters, though, be assured that this will not impact your ability to lead if elected?
Because I'm ready to lead today. I'm ready to vote with the Georgia voters, whereas Senator Warnock has voted with Joe Biden 96% of the time. I'm ready to vote with the Georgia voters today.
Thank you, gentlemen.
He didn't answer the question, but that was a good flip, and it was very direct and personal. So you can see, no matter how much people might say he's dishonest or whatever, there was honesty there. He didn't handle the personal stuff the way Warnock did. He leaned into it, and he made a campaign ad for mental illness here. Um, I I can't even believe that this debate is this close. Well, it's not close. Walker's clearly winning this debate. Whether he's going to win the election is, I don't think so, but he's clearly winning the debate here, and it's not close.
Move on to our next topic, Tina.
And that topic, gentlemen, is health insurance. Georgia is one of 12 states that have not accepted federal funding to expand Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act. Mr. Walker, With more than 1.5 million Georgians uninsured, in 1 minute, is it time for the federal government to step in to ensure all Georgians have access to health care?
Well, right now, people have coverage for health care. It's according to what type of coverage do you want. Because if you have an able-bodied job, you're going to have health care. But everyone else have health care is the type of health care you're going to get. And I think that is the problem. And what Senator Warnock wants you to do is depend on the government. What I want you to do is get off the government health care and get on the health care he's got to get you a better health care. So that's what I'm trying to do, to make you independent rather than dependent.
Okay, so I can kind of understand just based on hearing the arguments for years, where he kind of stands. Because the big debate with Obamacare, when that debate was going on with Obamacare, the Republicans wanted the um, they wanted an open market, and I think even some of the Democrats wanted a public option, meaning that we can pick and choose the health care that we wanted. The market is free, is wide open, including the type of health care that senators have. And some of the Democrats didn't. I think it was John Edwards and Hillary Clinton they didn't want to support like uh, what came to be Obamacare unless there was a public option that would have kept prices low, and they didn't do that, and that's one of the reasons why we saw some of the healthcare prices go up. I mean, it did go up. For people saying it didn't go up, it did go up. And because you couldn't fully shop the market to where if in Idaho, for instance, had better healthcare than in Georgia, but I can get a plan in Idaho. No, I was kind of stuck to the plans in Georgia. So then they had a monopoly on uh healthcare so they could increase their prices. So if if all of the companies in Georgia said, okay, we're just going to increase our prices, then I was mandated to have to get one of those in Georgia. I couldn't freely shop and say, hey, well, look, I want the healthcare that senators and Congress people have. If I got to buy one, which we had to buy one, we were forced, whether if you had a job or not, you were forced. So Obamacare essentially became a bill or fine. And um, so if I'm forced to have to buy one, and I agree with this, if I'm forced to have to buy something, then I should be able to buy it from wherever and get the best deal and the best price that fits my needs. Like it, imagine you were forced to buy well, we're forced to buy car insurance, but I can buy car insurance from any company, that's insures cars. I don't just have to buy companies located in, Georgia or Hawaii or wherever. So, or if I had to buy a car, well, I want to shop for cars anywhere. If I can get a better car in Florida, well, I want to buy my car from Florida. I don't want to have to buy my car in New York. You know what I mean? Like, so when you open up the markets, and that's what he's trying to say, he just didn't do it very well. He didn't do a good job of it, but that's essentially seems like what he's trying to say when he says having the same health care as Warnock.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Senator Warnock, you have 1 minute. You've vowed to close the Medicaid gap by expanding access coverage in the Affordable Care Act marketplace. So this comes with a $50 billion price tag, the national debt already at an all-time high. Where is this money coming from? You have 60 seconds,
That's a
sir.
tougher question.
This is not a theoretical issue for me.
Well, he ain't gonna answer it.
When I think about
We already
healthcare,
know
I
that.
think about Lori Davis,
Oh God.
a trauma nurse in Covington, Georgia, who spent her career taking care of people. And then she got sick and she had to give up that job. And as she got sicker and sicker, she found herself without health care. She was one of the 600,000 Georgians in the Medicaid gap. She died for lack of health care. And so I ran saying that I would fight to expand Medicaid. Georgia needs to expand Medicaid. It costs us more not to expand. What we're doing right now is we're subsidizing health care in other states. Meanwhile, we've seen 10 hospitals in this state close, 10. And the Atlanta Medical Center, right down the street from my church, where I visit my members, has announced that it's going to close. And so Georgia needs a senator who believes, like I do, that health care is a human right. And I will continue to fight until the working class people, by the way, the folks who don't have health care, they work every single day. The folks who are in the gap,
And I believe in that
the folks,
extension of
let me
healthcare.
finish, let me finish.
Damn,
The
your
folks-
time
the
rang.
folks who
The
are
bell
in the
rang.
gap, the folks who are in the gap are the working poor.
We are moving on, Senator
And I
Warnock.
believe in healthcare, but he didn't
Listen,
mention
listen,
that he
Mr.
got,
Walker, if I can get
Yes.
your attention, please. In just a few weeks, Wellstar will
Yes.
close its doors. This is Atlanta Medical Center, which primarily serves patients in lower income and minority communities. Hospitals nationwide are dealing with nursing shortages, doctor shortages in the wake of the pandemic. Mr. Walker, what measures can Congress enact to ensure everyone has access to hospitals and doctors? You have 30 seconds, sir.
Well, first of all, Senator Warnock was correct that he believed in working with people, but he didn't do it because Governor Kemp has a plan that would have been a very good plan. But he stood back while Biden destroyed the plan. And he's talking about
Okay, god dang, man. Kemp, Governor Kemp had the plan, and Biden destroyed the plan. Like, what is the plan? Damn, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. I just thought that was funny. Hold on, let me go back. But before I'm gonna go back. But about that hospital that they said is closing in Atlanta, that would be the perfect time. That would be the perfect project for all these rappers out here buying up, you know, like I was saying about Ti saying he bought the 143 complexes. That's fine. That's all well and good. But man, how much it would to serve the black people in Atlanta if you bought a hospital. Man, them brothers should have buy that hospital. This hospital, a whole hospital is going to close, and we know where it's closing. I can already guarantee where it's closing. It ain't closing in the white neighborhoods or where is the place the rich people are at in Atlanta, Buckhead, yeah. It's not gonna close in Buckhead. It'll close. I don't know, and I don't know. I'm just speculating here. I may even do some research on this later. But I would guarantee it's closing somewhere where it's most needed in a black neighborhood or around the black neighborhood. That would be perfect if they just buy that hospital or fund it. You know,
Mr. Walker, what measures can Congress enact to ensure everyone has access to hospitals and doctors?
he ain't
You
gonna
have
answer this
30
question.
seconds, sir.
Well, first of all, Senator Warnock was correct that he believed in working with people, but he didn't do it because Governor Kemp has a plan that would have been a very good plan. But he stood back while Biden destroyed
Destroyed
the
the
plan.
plan. I'm
And he's
sorry.
talking about he believes in the extension of it. He stood back. Well, what the people can be assured of is I'm willing to meet with hospital administrators, meet with people rather than writing a letter, because Senator Warnock waited till they made the decision and wrote a letter. And I said they don't need a pen pal, they need solutions.
They don't need a
We
pen
are moving
pal.
on now.
Okay, I knew he wasn't gonna answer that question. That's a tough question. I, I mean, that's been plaguing people forever. How to ensure that all Americans have access to health care and to hospitals and so forth. I would have just answered the plan specifically about that hospital that she said is closing. I don't know what she said. I can't remember. But anyway, I would have answered. I would have tried to. I would have took a shot at Warnock, but then I would have tried to answer about that because doing it for all of the United States and all of the citizens of the United States is too much. So I would have framed it in terms of trying to at least try to give somewhat of an answer about the people of Georgia and saving that particular hospital since she had mentioned it.
Senator Warnock, that same question to you, sir. What measures can Congress enact to ensure everyone has access to hospitals and doctors? You have 30 seconds.
Well, clearly he doesn't have a solution.
He doesn't.
Well,
He
I
said
said I'll meet with administrators. That's a solution.
he said
You didn't
No, it
do
ain't.
that.
his solution is to meet. My solution is to pass legislation, which I've done.
What?
I got $4 billion in the American Rescue Plan to help the non-expansion states to do what they should have done to expand. They left that money on the table. Georgia left 600,000 Georgians in the Medicaid gap. And so I'm going to keep standing up because people are literally dying for lack of health care. Dr. King said that of all the injustices, inequality in health care is the most shocking and the most inhumane. I agree with Dr. King.
God, he keeps invoking Dr. King's name. This is embarrassing. He didn't answer the question either, but obviously it was more succinct. He's a better politician and he speaks better than Walker. Neither one answered the question. Pass legislation to do what? I mean, what is? She said how? How do you ensure it? Pass legislation. Okay, that tells us a lot.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. Buck, now the next topic.
Thank you, Tina. We're going to talk about foreign policy now. Russian
Oh,
President
hell.
Vladimir Putin has threatened to use nuclear weapons in the conflict with Ukraine, prompting President Biden to claim that we are on the verge of Armageddon. Senator Warnock, if nuclear weapons are used, how should the United States respond?
And hold up, before he answers, if we're on the verge of Armageddon and that senile Joker is has his finger on the button, he may inadvertently press the button from all his damn senile shaking. I mean, I will never forgive the black community for electing that senile dude. And I ain't saying that you should have voted for Trump. I'm just saying it shouldn't have been because of black people that he got elected. If he won, then he won. Black people ain't getting anything anyway from Joe Biden, so it wouldn't have mattered. You know, black people didn't really get anything from Trump, so it wouldn't have mattered. We should have just sat that out and it not be on our watch that we got the senile Joker here at the helm of of the country during this time. Man, that is so shameful for the black community.
Prompting President Biden to claim that we are on the verge of Armageddon. Senator Warnock, if nuclear weapons are used, how should the United States respond? You have 60 seconds.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that we are standing up to Putin's aggression. And we have to continue to stand up, which is why I stood up to the Biden administration when it suggested that we should close the Savannah Combat Readiness Training Center. I told the president that was the exact wrong thing to do at the exact wrong time. And I'm glad that I was able to stand up with Congressman Buddy Carter and others. And we kept that training center open. I've seen up close what those service members do. They are the tip of the spear, and we have to make sure that our service members know that we have their back. We have to strengthen our allies and the NATO alliance as we've done, and make sure we stand up to Russian aggression. Nothing could be more important.
Mr. Walker, the same question to you. If nuclear weapons are used, how should the U.S. respond? You have 60
Well,
seconds.
first of all, he talked about standing up. You didn't stand up to Chuck Schumer when you could have got a helicopter company here of almost $1 billion. You let it go to New York. You didn't stand up then. You didn't stand up to Biden when he left American people and had 13 military soldiers killed in Afghanistan. You didn't stand up then. So what we can do is Putin is a bully. And the way you beat a bully, you show strength. Well, Senator Warnock said he stood up. He not stood up to Biden. If he was standing up, he wouldn't have voted with him 96% of the time, which gave us an open border, which gave us high inflation, which gave us crime in the streets. And he talking about standing up. He didn't stand up. He have laid down every time it came around, and you know that, Senator.
Yeah, I figured this section here or this section of the or this question of the debate, they weren't going to. You can't. How can you answer that question? If he uses nuclear weapons, it's the only thing that we could. You got. We got to use nukes. That's the only answer. I mean, what else is going to happen? Or you gonna let Ukraine fall? Those are the only two. Those are the only two options. Because what are you going to do? Just totally launch an all-out war against Putin, or are you going to let Ukraine fall? But of course, they can't say that because we have to show strength and we have to support Ukraine, no matter if even if it's the right or wrong thing to do. These guys have no. You could. These debates show exactly how clueless these people are who are leading, because there's really only two choices. And see, someone like me, I could never, I could never run because I would get up there and tell the truth. Hey, Ukraine is on their own. They ain't gonna go to damn make a launch a nuclear war for Ukraine. Are y'all insane? Oh, he's weak against Biden, or he's weak against Putin. No, Putin ain't attack us. Yeah, if Putin attacks us, hey, it is what it is. But Ukraine is their territory. Just like just like we bully Haiti all the time because it's over here in the Western Hemisphere. Hey, they're just getting bullied, and they have to. They on their own.
It is evident that he has a point that he tries to make time and time again. I've stood up to the Biden administration so that they could keep open this Combat Training Readiness Center, stood with our congressional delegation to do that.
I don't know what's
I've
happening
worked
with his mic.
across the aisle
Okay, they
time
fixed
and time to get good things done for the people of Georgia. I worked with a senator from Texas to build out I-14. I worked with a
This is
Republican
such a
senator from
deflection.
Alabama to help Georgia farmers get their products to market. I will work with anyone and stand up against anybody I need to stand up against to get good things done for Georgia. I work for the people of Georgia.
We need to move forward to our
single
next
day.
topic, gentlemen. Our time is running short. Both of you have strong backing from your respective parties. Senator Warnock, a simple yes or no here. You will have a chance to explain, but I'd like a simple yes or no. Would you support President Biden running for a second term
Oh,
in
hell.
2024?
Yes.
I've not spent a minute thinking
Dude.
about what politicians should run for what in 2024.
Is that a yes or a no?
Dude,
The answer is I have not.
Oh, that's not an answer. He
And-
said
and
yes or
maybe
no.
This is difficult.
God
Maybe this is
dang.
difficult for people to understand because that's how politicians think. I think that part of the problem with our politics right now is that it's become too much about the politicians. You're asking me who's going to run in 24? The people of Georgia get to decide who's going to be their senator in 3 days, Monday. And I hope they'll show up and vote. And I'd be honored to represent them in the Senate.
You haven't thought about it. If you can think about it now, in 2024, the president will
Thank
turn
you.
82 years old.
Good-
Are you
good
concerned about
redirect.
his physical and his mental fitness at that time? You have 30
The
seconds.
people of Georgia
Oh, damn.
hired me
Still gonna deflect.
to represent them regardless of who's in the White House. I'm honored to do that job every single day. My dad said
He
if
is a
somebody
total
hires you to do
politician.
do the job they hired you to do. They didn't hire me to be a pundit. And I'm
God.
working every single day for hardworking families in Georgia, for our women, for our workers, and for kids like me growing up in places like Caton Homes.
Mr. Walker, former President Trump is also considering a run for the White House in 2024. If you can give me a simple yes or no answer, and we'll
Well,
give you
that's
time to
kinda-
explain as well, would you support a Trump 2024 run?
Yes, I would. And let me tell you, President Trump is my friend. Has nothing to do with that. He's my friend. I won't leave my allies, which is what Senator Warnock and Joe Biden did in Afghanistan. They left their allies. They left their allies, and right now on a foreign stage, a lot of these people don't trust us no more. They don't trust us to be strong anymore. So they're waiting to see who's going to stand up, who's going to trust. They have no one to trust right now because I said President Trump is my friend, and he won't stand up with Biden when yet he's voted with him 96% of the time. Let's be real.
Oh,
Mr.
God.
Walker, are you concerned about the ongoing
That dude said, let's be real. Man, this is how the debate is going here. This is crazy.
legal investigations around the country and including here in Georgia? You have 30 seconds.
Well, first of all, I would hope that Senator Warnock, he and myself being people of color, would want the scales of justice to not have a hand on it. We want the Lady Justice to be blind, but in this instance here, Lady Justice is not blind. And I said, right now, with everything that is going on, what I like to do is get to what's important. What's important is protecting the border. What's important is protecting people on the street. What's important is getting this inflation down, not what's going on there in Washington, talking about whether President Trump is guilty or not guilty. What I wanted to do is see due process, which is what I hope Senator Warnock and myself would love to see.
Changing topics now, we're going to move forward just to give you guys both an update that you may want to know, although the news is not great if you're a Braves fan. Right now, they're in the top of the ninth inning, Game 3, National League Division Series, down 9-1 to the Phillies. Not a great night for the Braves. Just a few weeks ago, the World Series champs, though, they did visit the White House. Their visit sparked a renewed debate about the team's name and their signature tomahawk chop. Mr. Walker, do you believe the Braves should rethink their name, their logo, or their signature cheer? You have 30 seconds.
Not at all. You know, right now, we have too many other things to be concerned about. We have people dying on the streets in Atlanta, around the country. We have people living paycheck to paycheck, can't afford food to put on their table, can't afford gas. We have Putin out there. We have China out there. We can't be concerned about whether the Braves are going to change their name. We need to be concerned about saving this country. We need to be concerned about saving the Georgia people. We need to be concerned about giving people a right to live the liberties and freedoms that the Constitution of the United States guarantees them to have.
Senator Warnock, the same question to you. In regards to the Braves, do you think they should rethink their name, their logo, or their signature cheer?
Well, first of all, I'm praying for the Braves right about now. They've got a ways to go here. Listen, the management of the Braves is meeting with our tribes, and they're having a conversation about this. And I know the folks over at the Braves organization, and I trust that they and the tribes that they're talking to will come to a place that makes sense for all involved.
Senator Warnock, we're going to go ahead and continue. We want to get a few more questions in tonight. Senator Warnock, some of your Senate colleagues have called for expanding the number of seats on the Supreme Court. In 15 seconds, quickly, sir, would you support this?
What I support.
Expanding
listen,
the seats on the Supreme Court.
I think that my
This
job
dude
as
can't
a
answer the
senator
question.
is to protect the rights of ordinary citizens. And for the first time, perhaps in my lifetime, we've seen those rights contract rather than expand, whether we're talking about the reproductive rights of women or voting rights. And I'm going to do everything I can to protect the rights of the citizens of Georgia.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. Mr. Walker, would you support expanding the number of seats on the Supreme Court? In 15 seconds, sir.
Yes, when you get in Washington, you have to become a leader. Being a leader, you have to make tough decisions. And you see on that answer there, he really didn't give you an answer. So my answer is no. I wouldn't know.
So you can get a straight answer.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now we have reached the point for final moments of this debate, a chance for your closing remarks. And you have 60 seconds.
Each have 60 seconds to answer, and Senator Warnock, you have the floor first.
Well, thank you so very much, Georgia. It's wonderful to be here. Listen, in this state, we have nearly 11 million people, and only 2 people get to represent us in the United States Senate, just 2. And when I think about that, it is an awesome responsibility, one that humbles me and inspires me to work as hard as I can for hardworking families every single day. And I've worked with Democrats and Republicans in order to do that work. These are difficult times. These are dark times. But the scripture says that the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness overcometh it not. I'm honored to represent you in the Senate. I hope that you'll show up to vote early, beginning Monday. I'd be honored to have your vote. God bless you. Keep the faith.
Mr. Walker, your turn for closing statements, and you have 60 seconds as well.
For those of you who are concerned about voting for me, a non-politician, I want you to think about the damage politicians like Joe Biden and Raphael Warnock have done to this country. I want you to think about Raphael Warnock, what he said today. And I said he was going to try to give you some smooth talk and tell you what's happening. What's happening is this country is hurting. What's happening is we need leaders. So what I want to say to you, Senator Warnock, is I want to thank you. I want to thank you for this. But at the same time, I want to say Georgia needs leaders. They need leaders that's going to stand up for them. So let's think about if we give Senator Warnock 6 more years, think of what this country will become. I'm not sure if we can make up for that.
Gentlemen,
so
thank
I said
you.
Vote for Herschel Walker.
Thank you both, gentlemen. That's going to conclude our debate for
Let's
this
see if they
evening.
shake hands.
Before we leave
He
tonight,
won
though,
that
we want to
debate. It's not
remind
clear.
voters
It's
that
not
early
even
voting
close.
begins in Georgia on Monday. It will run through
He might
November
not win,
4th.
but
Election day is November 8th.
Candidates, thank you. And we, of course, want to thank Plant Riverside District,
are they going to show
Kessler
him? Or do they
Collection
shake hands at the end?
Property for this venue to broadcast this debate.
We appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. We hope you have a great night.
Come on, they got a few seconds left. They shake hands? Okay, they shake hands. Warnock didn't really want to shake his hand. You saw him give that half-ass handshake, and then what's his name was going to speak to him. But anyway, yeah, family, that's it. That's the debate, and it's clear Walker won that debate. He might not win the election, but Warnock did the politic thing. He was in total politician mode, and the guy who wasn't too smart, he walked away with the W. Um, yeah, I don't do too much political stuff on here. I do have my opinions. Again, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. Some of my positions would fall under the conservative banner, i.e., socially. I don't believe in uh, abortion. Um, you're homosexual, LGBT, whatever. That's up to you. I don't believe in pushing that kind of stuff towards the kids. Obviously, I think at some points they're too young to make their own decisions. Um, and then in some ways, I do believe in social programs, or that there's some things that the as a government that you should provide for the people that you govern. Your position doesn't you know your position has a responsibility, and it isn't to enrich yourself or those like you, but it is to protect or to provide for those who fall under your position. So, I'm all over the place. So I would never join a political party because there's just certain things fundamentally I disagree with both sides. And the most important thing, they're just two sides of the white supremacist coin. The Democrats and the Republican, same white supremacist coin, just two different sides of the argument. And um, so that I would never that I would never say, hey, I am with this side or that side. But anyway, Robo family, I appreciate you for tuning in. I was gonna jump on the live and do it live, but um, I got other stuff I wanted to do while listening to this. But anyway, it was a good debate. Walker clearly won. It wasn't close. Um, Again, those are my final thoughts. Peace, Rebel family.